Hi there guys, and welcome back to another episode of Pillars of Eternity. On the last episode we ended up inside the Crucible Keep, so we are busy exploring the Keep from the Crucible Knights. We have a quest there to retrieve some armor, and I'm sure we will obviously have to do a side quest as a favor for this guy to get that armor. On top of that, we'll probably get some more quests going on in there, but it's okay. The bigger the quest log, the more experience we get, the more loot we get. So I'm not too phased about that. And then we also, to continue with the main story, we also have to go to the next town. But I first want to finish up Defiance Bay, get as many side quests here, and get them done in as much. I want to get as much done inside Defiance Bay itself before I move out as possible. Because previously, I also moved out for a quest. Yes, I did get another companion, but that put back that was a little bit of a setback in Defiance Bay itself. So let's just keep on exploring Defiance Bay and see
Sure.
where the road takes us.
Good day to you.
Aldmar gives you an appraising eye. Judging by the scars on his face, he's lucky to be able to do that much. Every day we get more from the hinterlands pouring into Defiance Bay. Keeps us busy on the watch. It does. You look like you recently arrived yourself. Who are you? A soldier of the Crucible Knights, and proud of it. I help keep everything running at the keep so that Commander Cliver, whatever, can focus on more important matters. Looking for something, or just knocking the dirt off your boots? What goes on in the Crucible Keep? This is the headquarters of the Crucible Knights, so it's where we store arms and armor, as well as where many of our soldiers bunk. Commander Cliver is in the back, making plans as usual. He scratches a scarred cheek. You'll find the forge at the west end of the building, along with our master smith, Dunstan. There's also a shrine to the golem, if you're the praying type. The golem. Who's the golem? We're the defenders of Defiance Bay. We're not exactly a formal knighthood, but don't tell Commander Cliver that as I said that, he grins. We were the first organized militia to oppose Adrian's rule, and today we're the largest force in the city. Our soldiers undergo years of combat training, and our officers are required to have their souls read by the critter out in Dinred Row. Let's see, we're gonna have to go there. I don't know if that's part of Defiance Bay. What's this about Dinred Row? Just a requirement for the Crucible Knights. So the higher ups know there's nothing messy built in our souls past. Aldmar widens his stance. Keeping the ranks pure is fine by me. I just wish they were more careful in hiring their ciphers. What's wrong with their ciphers? He shifts his weight and glances at the empty halls. They're mostly Orlands. I'm sure they're talented enough, but you just can't trust them. Hostility in their nature, and they've learned to hide it over the years. He frowns and crosses his arms. All I'm saying is they should at least be supervised by other folk. That's reasonable enough, isn't it? You're wrong. Aldmar shrugs. I'm just speaking the truth. Nowadays, it seems that the biggest crime of all. That's the biggest crime of all. That's all. Goodbye. Oh, let us see. Where will we go first? What's this? It's like a empty room. Okay, my banding is so slow. Forge, barracks, war room. So, trading room. Let's go to the trading room. Maybe I can learn some shit. Maybe I can get good. Just a sword, just a card, just a seer. Voila. The Justice flicks over to you briefly before turning to the novitiates gathered in the training ground. If this is about patrols, my novitiates are already stretching to their limits. Between the refugee influx and the mess at Heritage Hill, I simply don't have any units to spare. After a portion looks over at you again. I'm sorry, was there something you need? Is something wrong at Heritage Hill? She lowers her voice. What isn't wrong in is the real question. A whole district of walking flesh-eating corpses. We sealed the area 2 months ago, just after I lost one of my finest commanders there, and yet this is the second guard rotation to disappear. There are already enough rumors about the place floating around the keep without my soldiers whispering about these disappearances. She shakes her head. I'd just as soon abandon the district, but if those monsters should find a way out, we could look into it. She steps back into it and regards you. After what I just told you, you want to go to Heritage Hills. I've lost trained soldiers there. Why should I let anyone in? If people are disappearing, someone's got to figure out what's happening to them. If you're so eager to rush to your death, I won't stop you. So she quietly looks on at the novitiates. Novitiates, yeah. And if you're somehow able to put a stop to this, you've got my permission to enter Heritage Hill. I'll send word to the guards at the gate. Tell me about the Heritage Hill. Used to be one of the most prestigious districts in Defiance Bay, but a few months ago the residents all went mad, started eating each other and anything else that had the bad luck to wander into the district. I've never seen anything like it. Now every novitiate that stands guard there, everyone that comes back anyway, talks of the stench of the grave and the groans of unspeakable horrors. She holds up one plate-clad finger. The why and the how are questions for the animants. I've sealed the district in hopes of containing whatever happened there. It seems to be working for now. If there's anything else, I must attend to my duties. What do you do here? What do you do here? I'm in charge of the Keep's novitiates. I'm responsible for their training and patrol assignments. She nods at the group gathered in the training room. They're good soldiers and they've been quick to adapt to new challenges. Well, okay. You quest the... Let's go back. See what's happening. Yeah. Yeah, I assumed anything I take here would be stealing. Dunstan. No, stealing. No, stealing.
If this is about the breastplates, I already told Cleaver they won't be repaired till next week.
Cleaver. Showing the piece of the blade of the endless boss. I found several fragments of an ancient sword. Do you think you could repair it? Well, that's a fine blade indeed. He holds one fragment in his rough hands. Looks Eoran special made. Must have been a commission for some champion or some sword. He hands the shard back to you. A sword of this caliber would have had a specially designed hilt too. It would be a shame to graft anything else onto it, and besides, it'll balance best if all of the original pieces. You find the rest of it, and I'll forge it for you. I can't even remember picking up the sword. Something else you want? What do you do here?
I'm a forge master. I'm a master smith for the Crucible Knights. But the way I see it, I'm also keeping up with our old traditions. The first members of our order were smiths. Nowadays, most everyone's a professional soldier. I suppose it's to be expected, but I think it's important we keep up with our roots, too.
Tell me about the knights.
We were all smiths back in Hodrick's day, though I'm about the only one here who still gets his hands dirty. We're a fearsome fighting force, though these days I think Cleaver takes more pride in our parade formations.
He thinks himself a progressive man, but he's obsessed with his soul lineages and collection to the Deerwood's heroes of old. He picks up his hammer again. Other than Denred Rowe, who really knows about any of that, though. What is? Oh, yes, the guy we need to speak to. Penhelm.
Good day, stranger.
The young novitiate's armor is redly shine and his hair is clean and neatly combed. It's hard to believe he's ever seen battle or that the scarred antique breastplate he wears could possibly be his. Are you looking for something? Does the name Osric sound familiar? Tell me about the... How does someone become a knight? What? Tell me about the Crucible Knights. We're the primary defenders of Defiance Bay. The Order's founders were the first to rally for Deerwooden independence. He waves his hand. Of course, that's ancient history now. Now, we're the most prestigious company of soldiers in Deerwood. It's a glorious line of work. He scrunches up his nose. If you can forget about the barracks, that is. Was there anything else? How does someone become a knight? We don't take just anyone. Our members share soul legacies with with the very men and women who defended this land a century and a half ago. He shifts his weight and coughs. Anyhow, Commander Cleaver is responsible for initiates, but he rarely accepts foreigners. Does the name Osric sound familiar? If you've got any self-respect, you won't associate with him or with any of his new friends at the expedition hall. For that matter, scamps and delinquents, a lot of them. What's the story between you two? Osric was always held some controversial opinions, but they went overlooked for the longest time because his family has such an extensive history of service in the Crucible Knights. He found across his arms. He finally went too far. He had the goal to suggest that we had strayed too far from our roots, that some of our officers were beginning to resemble a Deering nobility. He rubs a spot to his bracer with a silk handkerchief. He would have us all wear rough spun and fight with forged hammers. I merely reported his statements. I don't see the problem. If the knights obsessed over their past, they wouldn't have grown into the fighting force they are today. I don't see the problem. People change, organizations change. The Crucible Knights began as a militia of blacksmiths, but Dunstan's one of the only officers who can wield a hammer these days. We're professional soldiers. Isn't that who you want defending a city? Besides, a novitiate has no business mangling his superiors. He says your affinity is a forgery. Is that his breastplate you are wearing? It was. He looks down to that mile. It became property of the Crucible Knights when he was discharged. Now it's mine. And it's not for sale, if that's what you're wondering. Not every day you find armor that was used in the rebellion. Enough about Osric. I did quick say like let's just what would he know about that? It's perfectly convenient for him to cast suspicions. What with his pedigree in the Knights, he folds his arm. He blinks at you. It's a lie, of course. Rogue Knight. Let's just see, because I know Rogue Knight. Penhelm doesn't appear to be keen on the parting with Alcazar, which he's presently wearing, more which is required. Also believes that Penhelm affidavit affirmative that Penhelm's soul is free of any idea or influence is a forgery. He said I could find it somewhere in the Crucible Keep in first fire. So it's somewhere in here. What is this? Barracks. See, this is a problem.
Hello.
The ground case, the bottom of the tub, the towel hanging from. Oh, okay. I need.
Yeah?
Following your lead.
Eyes and ears.
I'll give it a try, at least, as requested.
Wait for that one to go. They're all locked. They're all locked. Man.
Let's see what lies this way.
Okay, let's go. No.
I'll give it a try, at least, as requested.
Yeah, I want that.
I can do that. As requested. I can do that. As requested.
Hey.
Okay. It's not in there.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely not in there. Okay. What's this? This is the... That's where they chow. I wonder where it would be though. Archives. It would be in the archives.
Yes? I shall be quiet as a calm sea, which is not very quiet.
Penhelm's affidavit. Go there.
Following your lead.
No.
I can do that. As requested.
Okay. Oh man. Penhelm's affidavit. Current, a cipher duly appointed and employment of generals does hereby certify that Novitiate and Penhelm has been found to have a soul free of any service or interest obtained to the scroll is stamped with the seal of Dinred Row and signed by both Penhelm and Curran. What's this thing? This edit calls for the arrest of Eon, whose recent actions have led to the death of a Knight of Crucible. It requests reporting any information to Justiciar Altman. It is signed Commander Cleaver. Okay, what's this? No, but did we not... We bound this. Did we not... I bound this to him. Yes, buy and sell.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Rogue Knight. Emails affidavit to Curran. Penhelm seems to have taken Osric's armor for his own, but I have his affidavit in hand as a possible bargain chip. Curran, the cipher who signed off Penhelm's affidavit, works at Hadrid House in Brackenbury. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, we're probably gonna get some more side quests in here. But it's cool. It's cool. What's happening here? Shrine of Avion. Okay, but we'll go there now.
We just don't have the manpower. Yes?
What have you seen here?
Let's see what lies this way. I'll give it a try. As requested, at least.
Ooh.
Hello? Hello?
You have gained an item quest. The rest added to the stash. Okay.
Hey there.
Refugees from every corner of the Deerwood. The dozens getting them all riled up about animancy. At this rate, we'll need twice the soldiers to patrol Defiance Bay. Yes? Can I help you with something?
Why don't you have enough soldiers?
Fleetbreaker Castle. The High Justice has summoned almost half of my novitiates, and more of my justiciars to a keep on the other side of New Hailmar. It's not for me to question the High Justice's orders, but it's left us short-handed. And mark me, we're just a couple sparks away from anarchy.
Is there a way I can help? I know how to handle myself. Also, always refreshing to meet someone who'd rather fix a problem than complain about it. Forge Master Dunstan is working with the Animancy Scholar to build what we're calling Forge Knights. Warriors that can patrol our streets without suffering fatigue, disobedience or fear. Some agitator throws rocks at them. We don't have to worry about things getting out of hand. He's constructed the armor, but we need the scholar's research. Unfortunately, she hasn't been around the last few times my novitiates have checked. Vienna lives with the rest of the Scriveners out in Copper Lane, but I haven't the soldiers to spare at the moment. Go to the Scriveners' dormitory and see if you can find her. When you get to get the research, just bring it to Dunstan. This is his area of expertise anyway. Once you've brought him the research, he can sell you any arms or armor if you have need. He forges and repairs all of our equipment. You won't find more capable smith in Defiance Bay. Was there something else I can do for you? You're in charge of the Crucible Knights? You're in Defiance Bay anyhow. The High Justice is the leader of our order, but he's currently stationed in Fleetbreaker Castle. My job is to oversee our forces in Defiance Bay and to keep order for the Duke. Tell me about the Knight of the Crucible. He crosses his hands behind his back. We're the only professional army in the Defiance Bay, or in the Deerwood for that matter. We defended the city in Hadrid's day. We've improved our training since then, but Dinred Row can certify that many of our officers come from good Deerwood fighting stock. Now we're responsible for patrolling the city and keeping the peace. With so many refugees pouring in from the countryside, that's become more important than ever. Unfortunately, that's earned us enemies, particularly among the dozens and some of the more enterprising families in the Defiance Bay. What do the dozens have against you? They're demagogues and troublemakers. They forget that Defiance Bay is one of the largest cities in the world and not some frontier outpost. Most of them are mercenaries on a good day and street thugs on the rest of the time. Needless to say, they've no patience for law and order. Tell me about these enterprise families. House Duminal, namely, they're one of the city's oldest noble families and the largest criminal organization. Their patriarch Gedmar has been trying to take advantage of the turmoil to expand his operations. We've kept on top of him, and he hasn't been too happy about it. I see. Was there something else? Goodbye. Built too
Sure.
fast. No, wait.
Yeah?
Lego. Lego. What is it? Anything? Anything? No. Well, I'm not putting anything
Let's see
down.
what lies this way.
Okay, so we've been everywhere. Damn, girl. Damn lists. Now I want to go to the next section of Defiance Bay. We're going to go in a rotation the whole time. If my PC decides to load stuff. So what I'm going to do is, because I started Copper Lane and then I went First Fires, so I will go Brackenbury, then Andra's Gift, then Heritage Shield. So I'll be going there next. Andra's Gift. I'm also sure there's quite a few side quests that's gonna take us outside the town. We need to go there as well soon. One day when I'm a grown up, I'll go there. Okay. So let's see. Sanitarium. Okay, I need to go there. Adred House. Need to go there. Okay. Too many variables. Animancer.
Gods keep you.
A woman stands in the shade of the garden, muttering to herself. She's fixated on the pages of a large and well-worn tome, seemingly oblivious to the blooming flowers and the cool, fragrant breeze. She only looks up when your shadow crosses her page. Do you mind? I'm rather busy. What are you so busy with? She snaps her book shut. I'm studying soul attachment. We all know that the souls move into people at birth and out of them at death, but we still have a lot of questions about what makes them stick, so to speak. What do you mean about making them stick? She brushes a stray lock from her forehead. Souls power bodies and give their tissues life, but only when they're firmly attached. It's separation that leads to a whole spate of soul-related ailments, including the Hollowborn. But if we understand how to reattach souls, we could end Waydwin's legacy, maybe even conquer death. She scratches behind her ear. That's the theory, anyway. Unfortunately, I don't have all the research I need to put into practice. What exactly do you need? There's a manuscript called The Theorems of Pangrim. It contains research from Pangrim's experiment to detach souls. The Hall of Revealed Mysteries is rumored to have a copy of in the Elder Archives. Pangrim's work is considered to be one of the more daring antimancy texts, not something generally circulating among novices, nor easy to get a hold of. I wonder if you might have a peek at it. The theorems would advance my research by leaps and bounds, but Grimda, the High Archivist, worships Whale, which means she has some paradoxical views on sharing and restricting knowledge. And since she's not exactly a proponent of animancy, she tends to restrict the kinds of information that would be useful to me. She could be persuaded. You're welcome to try, but you wouldn't be the first. She sighs. Look at me spilling my troubles. It's kind of you to listen, but I should really get back to work. Anything else? Tell me about yourself. I'm an animant at the Insanitarium. Currently, I'm researching matters related to Wade's legacy. What's Wade's legacy? Wade's legacy refers to the rise in the hollow-born children in the Deerwood in recent years. Some have also connected it to so-called biowax that blow their ear glonfath. That blow through ear glonfath. There's hardly any reliable data on those, though, so I can't really. I didn't even read the last word. I don't have much care for the term Wade's legacy. It reeks of the superstition, but it's too prevalent to change it at this point. Personally, I'd like to see people take more methodical approach to these matters rather than throwing up their hands and blaming the gods. Don't think Deerwoodans would see too much fun in that. I have some questions about the theorems of Penhelm. Such as, tell me what the theorems of Penhelm. Penhelm was an animator working in the Deerwood. He had some interesting theories about essence and some rather innovative techniques of studying them. He was able to reattach souls to bodies after death, although he wasn't able to prevent his patients from degenerating. He was controversial to say the least, but many are starting to realize that he was merely ahead of his time. What do you mean by degenerating? Twist her hands together. Well, there seems to be a tiny problem with reattaching souls after death. The bodies will reanimate and may even retain memories of personality, but they develop a hunger for flesh, living soul-infused flesh. Without it, they start to dissolve, decaying mentally and physically. If the process goes too far, which it eventually does, they become mindless corpses attacking anything that moves. We haven't figured out how to avoid that yet. That is more than an invocation side effect. You're produced an unnatural curse with a little to show for it. That sounds like necromancy. Nonsense. Necromancy is magic. This is science. She emphasized the last word. Why doesn't Grimdal lend you the books you need? The Hall of Revealed Mysteries is rather protective of its books, especially the rarer ones, and Grimdal is particularly, she hates animancy. Thinks it's dangerous. I don't see how you can run the greatest library in Deerwood and be so adverse to the spread of knowledge and research, but I've never understood these religious types. Some knowledge is kept under lock and key. It's best kept under lock and key. I'd like to know more about the Hall of Revealed Mysteries. You'll find it in the Copper Lane district. It's dedicated to the God of Secrets and Revelations. Most importantly, it houses the largest and most expensive library in Deerwood. Well, that settles it. We simply must go there, right? Don't see it, right? I wish this guy can shut the fuck up. He always has something to say. He annoys the shit out of me. The Elder Archives hold the rarest, most arcane, and most powerful text in the Deerwood. Think of it as the inner sanctum of the Hall of Revealed Mysteries. Needless to say, you need Grimdar's permission to enter. That's all I wanted to ask. I'll leave you alone. Farewell. Strange page for a shrine of Abaddon, Crucible Keep. Maybe it made more sense at some point before it gathered all the dust. Only thing the Knights of the Crucible worship these days is the nobility, far as I understand it. I knew some soldiers who got recruited by the Knights after the war was over. They told me some about it. They get send these young kids in there and they tell them about blacksmithing and about the revolution and about the tradition. Talk about the golem like he created the Crucible Knight in his forge to go with Deerwood's independence. Then they join and it turns out all any of those knights ever talk about is when are we gonna get recognized as real knighthood? When are we getting our titles and our land? Their High Justice wants to be an earl, says the Abaddon's wall. He's got a castle and an army. You wonder how long he'll wait before he starts a war over it, saying Abaddon told me to. It seems like some members do still take the ideal seriously. You see it with the older knights, some of them. They were taught differently. I feel for them, seeing all that slowly wearing away around them, with nothing to be done because the wrong people are in charge. Shame they don't have better people leading them. Okay, let's go inside. Voice from the past. Let's research from.
Sure.
Sanitarium guard. Verna. The most unfortunate teller. Yeah, okay. Okay for that. Nazi Duck Poetry compilation. Who is Look at this guy. Head Warden Ethelmoor. A well-maintained statue of a middle-aged man presides over the broom. Looking down, unblinking over the bustle of hurried academics pestered by the hopeful desperate. A strong warmth emanates from it that you could sense from across the room. There is a human soul stored beneath the stonework. You feel its attention turned towards you. It has been some time since a watcher graced these halls. His voice echoes deeply, rumbling the floor beneath you. I'm envious of your natural insights, traveler. I can only imagine how it might have helped my work in life. Now, what is it that has brought you to my Sanitarium? You may have a member of the leaden key in your midst. The smoke groans, and the stone around him shudders. I could have done without hearing that today. Many of the intrusions been into our affairs, of course. One can seldom be certain whether they meddled or whether calamity has struck on its own. But a few of the less skilled infiltrators have been exposed from time to time. They are a perpetual nuisance. Once again, I am reminded of how envious I am of your gifts. I suspect they would be of some use in verifying one's identity. You are at odds with the leaden key as well, I take it. They have something I need. I hope it isn't knowledge you seek. They are seldom keen to part with it. Do you have some idea who this person is? I suspect it's a patient. Very well, in that case, I would recommend you speak first with our resident animancers. They have frequent interactions with both patients and colleagues. You'll find them up here in their offices downstairs. You will report anything suspicious to me immediately. This is my only request. I'm looking for an animancer named Modred. Modred, of course. You'll find him downstairs in the first room on the right. I'm curious as to know how you've come to be in your present state. In the statue, you mean? Well, he laughs. I was old and it seemed wrong to me, a lifetime spent in pursuit of discovery only to lose it all in death. Somehow, someday I would wake up in a new body, none the wiser, and pursue a different course entirely. All that experience wasted. If we are ever to unearth the principles behind your existence, it will be in spite of our condition. Of that I am quite sure. To live on as part of something I helped build seemed to me a better legacy than what nature had in store. The transfer itself was quite simple as our techniques go, and for that I am grateful. Playing with souls is as far easier to accept when they are not your own. I do miss being able to take an active role in the scholarly efforts here. Now and again, one of our animancers will humor me and consult over some problems, but they are a jealous breed and are too often afraid to collaborate. If you are considering yourself, I can tell you that it isn't for the easily bored. Tell me about the Sanitarium. A history lesson. This is a rare pleasure. Most come in here only concerned with cheating and death in one way or another. We are an old institution as dear would go. This is out of 94th year. As with many cities, the growth of Defiance Bay brought with it a host of problems. One of the worst was that those born with, shall we say, ill-favored souls came to populate its streets in droves. Thus, the Sanitarium, Brackenbury, was a natural fit. It was growing, but there was also a lot of money here back then. This place owes its survival to the curiosity of the wealthy, more than anything, I think. Our founding came at a time of great suspicion in animancy, much like today. So much progress has been lost to the mishaps of a few careless practitioners. But in time, it was forgotten as all things were. Since then, we have been at the forefront of animancy resurgence. We have played host to many gifted researchers and pushed the boundaries of our knowledge in ways never thought possible. Some of the first safe transferences were done here, and we have pioneered work in our souls, purification, lineage analysis, preservation. It's really quite a list, if you'll pardon my pride. um, Today, well, I can't say it's exactly the same. There's been some push to shut us down. It comes from Deerwood's more excitable denizens, whose minds are more passionate than thoughtful, I'm afraid. People see this legacy and they see it involves something they don't understand. So it's natural for them to suspect people whose understanding exceeds theirs. It looks to them like we're hiding something. We have the representative in the palace. This very moment. In the palace, this very moment, defending the entire science of animancy. At the hearing before the Duke, absurd as it sounds, if it does not go well, it could be the end of animancy in Deerwood. I fear Eivor may be swayed by all this unrest, irrational thought, though it may be. We shall see. Does anyone here know anything about awakenings? There is an animancer on the lower floor who came all the way from Ravua to study them. Take the stairs down and look for Bella's sake. Thank you. Okay. Oh, there she goes.
Good day, stranger.
A woman paces back and forth, her feet crunching on the soft red carpet. She gestures and mumbles to herself, shaking her head as she pores over pages of notes. She almost walks into you. Ekosi, here I am, looking so hard for answers in my research that I do not see the kith standing in front of me. What can I do for you? I'm looking for an expert on awakenings. She laughs bitterly. Like that would be me, though the lack of research subjects has made me more of an expert in counting floorboards. I would like to transfer animancy success in butter stressing pre-awakened souls to soothing those whose souls have already awakened, but I need subjects, and most of the patients here are too broken to produce reliable results. It is a tragedy to have come so far for nothing. You're in luck. I have a volunteer. She springs to the balls of her feet, beaming. Galarde, who is it? Her lost lips curl into a frown. I don't know about this. She grins more broadly still. Don't be silly. The process is perfectly harmless. All you must do is stand in the cage. I beg your pardon. I jest. You adherents are so uptight. I do not even know what the thing is used for. It belonged to the last occupant of this office. I think now they upgrade him to a cell. Again, I jest. She rubs her hands together, getting down to business. So, I need you to sit here. She takes Aloth by the shoulders and steers him to a couch. And try to relax, but don't try too hard, then you will not be relaxing. Indeed, his eyes are humorless. And you must also wear these. A little cold, but the copper will help conduct your essence. The animator fastens thick copper bands to Aloth's forehead and wrists. As she ratchets them tighter, his face twitches with suppressed irritation. Now, I will examine your soul through my scope. She reaches into her desk and produces a long chambered tube. Knobs, dials, and small tooth wheels run along the side of the device. If it is fitted with Audra lenses cut to different thickness and concavities. By manipulating them, I find the angles and entities that will allow me to track the anomalies in your soul. How exciting! I've never seen this sort of thing performed. Khan appears at the device with interest. It seems suitable, complicated. Does this mean we'll go to talk to Isilmir more? I like that lady. She raises a finger. But first, we must find this cunning interloper. You will answer some personal questions while I make adjustments. A lot squirms on the couch. Very well. She holds the scope to her eye and flicks a knob. To begin, tell me something personal, something from a time before your awakening. There's nothing to tell. I was just a normal child living in the Scythewood. He looks to you. His face is set in a frown, but the rigid edges of comprehension shows through nevertheless. Talk about your parents. As you speak to a lot, you feel your voice like a bell in your chest. It tolls softly, luring him into the mist of his own memory. Siege doesn't seem to notice anything, but you feel as if your words are smoothing his essence, untangling its many threads. He closes his eyes. Mother is away most of the time with the Thayan's family, but I always know when she's coming home. Father's bottles accumulate like storm clouds on the horizon. His fits of temper become swifter and more violent. It still shames him knowing that her Heimneg to another man supports us better than his labors as a steward. This is good. I am starting to see something. Continue. Tell us about the time you awakened. She bites her tongue as she twists one of their dials. Just give me a second, guys. Okay, I am back. Sorry about this. Okay, I am in my fifth year of training. Mother is home. I can let my guard down a little because when she's around, he is usually only angry with her. But he has heard that I have had trouble casting missiles. The flame shields are unstable. He is furious that I have failed, and Mother's presence reminds him of that he has failed too. The first blow takes me by surprise. One moment I am sweeping the kitchen, the next I am sprawled on the ground, stupidly looking at flecks of my blood on the tile. His boots glistening with fresh polish thud across the floor. He kicks me in the stomach, and I curl up to shield my vitals, but it's pointless. Protecting one thing only leaves something else exposed. His father was a dick. Still huddled on the ground, I retreat as fast as I can. I retreat until the vision of the kitchen and my own trembling knees is nothing but a pinprick against the field of black. His jaw locks and his eyes twitch beneath their lids. Mariko Balesh furiously cranks the knobs along with her scope. He's hypnotized himself with his old story. You've got to bring him out of it quickly. I am almost there. You're safe. Everything's fine. Shake him and shout, "Oh Lord, you've got to wake up. This is just a memory, it isn't real." Okay. Those eyes snap open, but he said that the expression you see in them isn't his. He's near safe when I hap upon him. Villager sucks a deep breath through their teeth. That's it. I'm seeing a shift in his essence. Something spreading and congealing. She glances at you over the scope. Keep talking. He seems to respond to you. What brought you here? Crack on bones and voices high in the air. The warm molasses feeling that crisp down your gut when crisis is nigh. Belfero, we have flares of a totally distinct essence. She jots shortened notes onto onto the next pages to her and turns one clicking knob of her scope. Now try to get two of them talking. Aloth asks Ismir what she's doing. Aloth's face twists in fury. Sticking weird, worming parasite. He bursts into sudden laughter. You'd say the same to your own kindled twig when it betrays you. Edir grins. Must be hard to avoid knowing there's a lady in your body the whole time judging you. Good, yes, very good. She rests from her scribbling only to make another adjustment to her scope. I can see two separate patterns of essence, where he ebbs, the other flows. It's as if the awakened soul fills the spaces that he leaves empty. She prompts you with a circling of her wrist, quill still in hand. Go on. Aloth, what's this about ceding space to Isilmir? He grits his teeth painfully. I've given her nothing. She usurps me in my own body. I lend him a pair too. You should ask what I did that old man of his. How the last time he laid a hand on us, I break it in 3 pieces. Aloth's head jerks to the side. That wasn't your decision. It's never been your decision. I was awakening, but now I'm stuck with you. And damned if I let anything happen. Your nannying drag us both through the scupper. Act very good. She lowers her scope and consults her notes. I think I've finally got something we can work with. I've tracked Isilmir's essence through the exchange. She had a particularly high density index during the most heated portions of the argument, and her essence seemed to be localized most clearly in the lower portion of the subject's left ribcage. That's right around the spleen, which of course means that she's triggered by black bile. No doubt the subject characteristic melancholy is to blame. Aloth blinks at you, and in the midst of his perturbation, you're not quite sure who's looking out of his eyes. That's utter horseshit. Black bile, is it? They've certainly spat their share. Gunnar studies Aloth out dubiously. It is a similar explanation than I expected, all things considered. She glares at him. Yes, never mind my years of training. I suppose you have better explanation. Isilmir manifest when Aloth's in danger and under pressure. Pelosi carefully scratches her jaw, her gaze darting between you and Aloth. I suppose that could be true. She jots another one. I'll have to check this against other research. He removes the copper band. Well and good for you, but what does this mean for me? Pelosi frowns at her notes, tapping her cheek with a quill and making grand shows of concentration. However, you catch her stealing a glance at you over the pages. Isilmir tries to take control of you when she thinks you can't face a problem on your own. You can't let her make these decisions for you. She did you a favor by doing okay. It must seem that Isilmir steps in when she determines that you're in danger. It's not clear yet whether this will help or hindrance. My thoughts exactly. I'll have to be more careful about her from now on. I've got a lot of process. Regardless, thank you for the help. He does not look at Belasik. She sets her notes on the desk and returns to her scope. Well, I hope this has been as useful to you as it has been to me. I finally have material worth publishing. You'll be at the toes of revoir. Fantre Floth. His grimace look at the eye, advancing the right-wise principles of animancy. Just what you've always wanted. As you turn to leave, you catch a darting movement out of the corner of your eye. Belasik is humming to herself, still occupied with her scope, but Aloth is holding her notes. He's just about to tuck them into his cloak when he catches you watching. He holds a finger to his lips, his eyes widen. But please, I don't want my personal information published like this, especially not after the nonsense. No, you get your explanation and she gets her research. That was the deal. He slides the papers back onto the desk, giving you a full look. I'm not gonna help you explain this one, scholar boy. Oh. 100. An animantis scribbles feverishly on a parchment scroll while his free hand dances through the air, counting off unseen object. His lips move in silent disco. As your shadow falls on his scroll, he looks up at you with mingled perplexity and irritation.
Good day, stranger.
Can I help you? He forces a polite smile. Does the name... okay. Has anything unusual been happening around here? You must be joking. This is Insanitarium. Nothing is unusual down here. He pauses. Although, now that I think of it, the patients seem more agitated lately, but they're Caden Azo's responsibility, not mine. Then if there's nothing else, what are you working on? My area of focus is whites, more specifically how to cure them. What's a white? A hollowborn who received a transplanted animal soul during infancy. One of Animancy's early efforts to cure the legacy. It's not a successful one. He removes his spectacles and wipes his brow. They show signs of developmental abnormalities throughout the childhood, but when they reach adolescence they become aggressive, feral, but still victims in need of care. Transplanting animal cells into children seems like an odd solution. We Animantis were trying to do something about the crisis, better than letting it swallow a generation of children. He stares at a fixed point on the wall, and despite the controversy, it only went so far because at first it seemed to work. People called it the salvation. Children that had never been responsible to any kind of stimuli suddenly seemed aware of their surroundings, of their families. He takes a slow breath. The complication don't begin until puberty, but that's when the incompatibilities between body and soul take shape. Children become violent, ravenous. But we pay dearly for our mistake, I promise you. Angry mobs hunted down Animantis and burned down their homes, with them still inside, often as not. People took to calling it the cruel salvation, and many still loathe us for it. But we wanted to stop the legacy as much as anyone. The public begged for our help, and we did the best we could. I still don't know if that absolves us. Why do you study whites? He huffs. What kind of question is that? Just think of all the families that could be healed, the lives that could be restored. What could be more important? His face has reddened, and he turns away from you for a moment. He shakes his head. Animancy has an answer here. I know it. It's simply a matter of working it out. I'm looking for an expert on awakenings. I hear that valiant woman studies them. You should go talk to her instead. His name Helig. Okay. Helig, he is a colleague of mine. He was primarily a necromancer, but he was involved in animancy too. He worked at the Insanitarium for several years. I dare say everyone here has heard of him. He clears his throat. He left his post recently. I believe he was seeking new opportunities in the Valiant Republics. He leans forward. The advances they're making in animancy really are quite remarkable. Surely you've heard of it. He coughs again. Perhaps you haven't. I've heard it differently. Do you know my name, Rowena? No, I don't get out of the Sanitarium much. Just looking around. Then be quick about it. And don't touch anything. The Sanitarium has a lax visitor policy, but I don't. Without another word, he resumes his work.
Welcome.
About Helig. I've heard differently. He slides his spectacles down his nose. Just what are you insinuating? If this is your idea of a joke, I assure you, it's a very poor taste. Might crack your knuckles. I insinuate nothing. Subtly isn't my style. Helig wasn't joking, and neither am I. So you didn't sink a blade into his chest and dump him in the catacombs. He'll be relieved to hear that. How could... He sighs and runs over. Very well, yes, I killed him. I killed that beast because nobody else had the spine for it. He was a madman. Years of perverse experiments, twisting healthy souls, torturing damaged souls, and for what? He flayed the essence from Glenfarth and ingredients from the amusement for his amusement. He waves down the hall. If the public had known half of his deeds, they'd have razed this place to the ground. He jabs his finger on the desk. He used the sanitarium to disguise his own sick proclivities. He brought shame on all of us and put the entire discipline at risk. I regret nothing. He calms down and sizes you up. Anyway, now you know the whole story. Chrissy's story. Alex said you stole a grimoire from him. Alex's soul returned to his corpse through a sinister magic. He wants revenge. Hardly brave stabbing a man in his sleep. So you killed him to save your own reputation. His grimoire, what's that man been telling you? Give him the key. He said you kept it in the trunk over there. Moira takes the key with a trembling hand. The eyes dart into the trunk behind you. You've been misled. There is no grimoire here, and Helic never intended you to find one. That wretched thing has an insatiable hunger for blood. He shudders. Thank you for denying him. I hope I can convince you now to return and slay him once and for all. He has something I need. I don't know what's the promise to you, but he's already lied to you about the grimoire. I don't have it. If what I've told you about that evil, deceitful man hasn't swayed you, I don't know what else to say. He turns back to his papers. Trust him at your own peril.
Welcome.
Alexo will return to his corpse and wants revenge. No doubt, but now you understand why I killed him. Why? I'll consider it. Okay. In the corner of Moira's lab rests a large with a trunk. It seems likely to contain something important, if only by virtue of size. Examine the trunk closely. The lack of dust on the trunk surface and the long scratches on the tile flooring suggest that the trunk is frequently used and moved throughout the laboratory despite the considerable size. Deep yet narrow gouges score the wood at the edges of the trunk. They look like claw marks. Open the trunk. Every lock holds the trunk shut. It's too sturdy to break. And the mechanism looks too complicated to pick. You'll need to find the key. Leave the trunk alone.
I'll see what I can find.
Okay, I think we're gonna call it here, guys. Next time we will finish exploring the Sanitarium, then we'll hopefully finish Brackenbury, then go over to Andra's Gift. Hopefully we'll be able to finish Brackenbury and do Andra's Gift all together in the next episode. We can get 2 sections out of the way, and then we'll go to Heritage Hill, and then we'll start the rotation like that again. Until we've done all the side quests inside Defiance Bay, and then we'll start moving outside Defiance Bay for all the side quests. Yeah, so I'll see you guys next time. Have a fantastic day.